Hey everyone, we are back for the class introduction series, part 4. We're talking about DragonCraft today, a very popular class. Some people believe it's the main character class, but it's a really fun class. It's a very relevant class in the history of Shadowverse. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, so let's get right into it. But before we do, I just want to say thank you guys for supporting these videos the past couple weeks. We are so close to release now, and it's really awesome to see how many people are excited for the game and talking about it, So let's get right into it. What is DragonCraft? Well, DragonCraft is the ramp and big bomb / bodies deck and class. So we have two example cards here, Dragon Oracle and Genesis Dragon. We'll kind of get into some of those type of cards in a second here, but let's show some cards. First is the very basic Dragon Oracle. So this is, of course, the original game Dragon Oracle. This is 2 play points, gain an empty play point orb. If Overflow is active for you when this card is played, draw a card. So what is Overflow? Overflow is active when you are above 7 max play points, or 7 max play points or higher. So that does not mean you have to have 7 play points left on your turn. You just have to be on turn 7 or later, but it's not really turn 7 because you are ramping. And yeah, so Dragon Oracle, probably one of the strongest cards in the history of the game. I'd probably give it a top 5. This low cost investment ramp is extremely strong, and was one of the reasons why Dragon, like I said, was so relevant for so long in the history of the game. You almost always saw this card, and you almost always saw cards that were printed that were like nerfed versions of this. This is a basic card, right? So you're going to have access to it, or you did have access to it forever. But let's show the Worlds Beyond version, because the Worlds Beyond version is interesting. Dragon Sign, 3 play points, gain a max play point. Then if you have 10 max play points, draw a card. Obviously significantly nerfed, and I think it's really like an extreme nerf. I think it was necessary, but the difference between being able to turn 2 ramp and then your next turn would be your turn 4, whereas playing this on 3 and your next turn would be on 5 is huge. So in the history of the original game, we had cards that were exactly like this, that were 3 play points ramp. The thing, though, is you always had access to the Oracle. So this was always like a secondary option for, hey, I didn't draw my Oracle, or I'm like turbo ramping and I, Oracle, and then we ramp again with a 3-drop, right? I'm going to be very interested to see how Dragon plays out. I already kind of have an idea of a deck that could end up being played, because we've seen Forte and what's her name? Little Dragon Nanny. If you want to see some of those cards, you can check some of my other videos. And they both summon cards or have cards that have Intimidate, which means you can't attack into them. So I could see, instead of going like the full ramp deck, we could go maybe a aggro-ish mid-range stuff that has ramp, that has access to ramp, like this card. But right now, I feel like this is a really weak card that you're going to have to play, just because Dragon is so ramp focused. So next I want to talk about, like I just said, Forte, but also some of these just really powerful Dragon cards that exist that are on the later side of the turns and of the game, right? So the original Dark Dragoon Forte, very popular card. A character. 6 play points, 5/1 Storm, which means you can attack the opponent immediately. It's different from Rush, where Rush means you can only attack followers immediately. And then if Overflow is active, this follower can't be attacked, so that is Intimidate. This card was really strong in the early days of Ramp and aggro variations of Ramp Dragon that existed in Unlimited and stuff like that. Just sort of an iconic card. We always see this reprinted a lot in various forms and fashions. But yeah, Forte, very popular character. And we have her in Worlds Beyond. she's just going to be a 6 play point, 5/2 Storm Intimidate. So we took off the requirement of being an overflow with the Intimidate, and we got 1 more health. Forte is really interesting because I go back and forth with her. Because at some points I think, wow, 5/2 for 6 play points that just Storms and Intimidate, kind of weak. We've seen some classes have pretty good removal. But then when you think about super evolving, imagine you play this and you super evolve her and she's an 8/5 and you swing in, right? And say they're at full health, right? You take 8 damage, you go to 12. The next turn, if they can't deal with it, if you pair that up with 1 more source of damage, you probably just kill them. Obviously this is kind of a fantasy world a little bit, but is that realistic? Maybe. I also think that I've said this a couple times now when I'm talking about these new cards. I already talked about this card a little bit in the previous video. But the card pool is going to be so low that we're probably just going to play all these cards that are just generically good, right? So will this card stick around for so long? Maybe not. That's kind of what happened to the original Forte, where she kind of got phased out because we went more of a control ramp strategy than like a hit them in the face kind of strategy. But you never know. I think Super Evolve adds a really interesting twist to this card, and we'll have to see how it plays out. Next card example I want to give you is the late game drops, right? So, of course, in the original game, the Shadowverse Digital, the first game, there's so many examples of these type of cards, but I did want to show a Worlds Beyond card. This is Twilight Dragon from Worlds Beyond. I think he's going to be in the basic set, or he might just be in the first set. This card is nuts. 9 play point, 9/9. On play, give all enemy followers on the field -9 health. And obviously, if they go below 0 or 0 below, they die. So this gets around one of the strongest cards in my opinion right now, Amelia, who gives all your Swordcraft followers barrier, which is like can block 1 hit, right? If this card said, hey, dealt 9 damage, she would just block all that, right? So this clears almost any board. Like, this is a nuts board clear. And then if you super evolve, he's going to draw you 3 cards. Card draw is very important to Dragon, as when you play ramp cards like the Dragon Sign, and of course the Dragon Oracle back in the day, you were losing a card out of your hand with no immediate benefit unless you had another card in hand, if that makes sense. Like, if you ramp from 3 to 5 and you have a 5-drop, sick, but if you don't, you kind of did nothing. And that's kind of an important part of learning how to play Dragon, is when to ramp and when to just go, hey, there's not anything for me to play the next turn if I ramp anyway, so let me hold the tempo and not, like slow myself down and basically skip a turn, right? This card is very, very strong, and I'm just worried that the ramp won't be there for this type of deck, where this card's going to be good, but it's not going to be as impactful as it maybe should, just because you won't be able to ramp as fast as you were able to in the original game. So we will see, but this is an example of the late game bomb type cards. Another aspect of this card is saving and super evolve till turn 9. Seems to be pretty hard because you only have 2, right? And you have Olivia, which is one of the strongest neutral cards right now. Probably the strongest card in the game, in my opinion. And you have Garyu, who really wants to super evolve. And those are 7 drops and 8 drops, respectively. So saving your super evolve to turn 9 might be a little tough. But of course, if you ramp a ton of times and you get this down like on their turn 7 or something like that, we're probably balling. So pretty interesting. Next, I kind of want to talk about. I see one of the cards got cut off on the PowerPoint. Neutrals are Dragon cards too. So one kind of joke that's gone through the game forever is that a lot of these late game neutral cards that they print, like a Lucifer, Sahakwiel, Izerfil, and Prince Cocytus, they're so expensive that the only playable deck they're really in is Dragon. Lucifer, of course, came up in a couple Control Blood decks. Same with Saha and Isra. That was a combo Sahakuyo plays out a neutral card from your hand and then puts it back in your hand after the turn or before the turn ends. And then Israfil heals you and deals damage when it attacks. So you can kind of like Saha, play out Israfil, clear the board a little bit, and then bounce it back, and then next turn you can actually play Israfil. The Prince Kakaitis, of course, we've seen a similar card already. What is his name? Something Kakaitis. I just call him Kakaitis, but I don't remember what the new version is exactly called, but it's Kakaitis. And he replaces your deck with a special type of deck that gives you like a bunch of really powerful cards. So a lot of these cards, like, you're probably not getting to turn 9 and have the ability to like play some of these slow cards in other classes. But Dragon, you ramp a couple times. Hey, I'm dropping it size or easy, So that's kind of interesting. That's something to keep in mind with Shadowverse Rules Beyond, as I think that'll just be a relevant thing forever. Is, hey, we see a 10 drop neutral card. Dragon, can we play it? Maybe. Next, of course, I wanted to give you guys some deck examples. On the left here is one of the iconic sort of classic ramp dragon decks. We have Isla, who was a 3-drop 2/2, and when she died, she ramped you. So that was kind of an example that I was talking about, right, where you have Oracle. You always had Oracle, but you have extra ability to ramp outside of the Oracle. Oracle would always be the best, but you have extra options like Isla. What was the other? There was one that came out in Vernon Conflict, I believe. But anyway, and then you also have Grimnir. He's a great example of these neutral cards. He's a 3-drop 2/3 ward, and then if you play him for 10, he does 4 damage AoE to the board and the leader, which of course at the time was a lot. But you couldn't really play that in a lot of other decks outside Dragon because you were getting to turn 10 by like turn 8, right? We see some other ramp options like Sybil. Rahab is an interesting thing because I think he might be in the new game because there was a dragon in the trailer and I couldn't tell if it was Genesis Dragon or Rahab. But he was a cool card. But yeah, and then once you get to the late game, you just have all of these variety of options in the late game, right? We have the Saha Isra, like I talked about. The Ouroboros was interesting because he kept putting it back to your hand, and you could play him out. So he died, but you always like had access to him. Bahamut, which was just a big board clear. Zeus, which was a big body that it had like Storm, Bane, Ward, and it was a 5/10, so it just did a lot. But yeah, this was a very iconic like ramp dragon, and then one of the powerful things was how good some of its early game cards were in the late game as well. So you have like the Salamander Breath, which is usually just a removal, but then it does some AoE as well if you pay a lot for it. Scythe, Dragoon, what's her name? Scyther? Scythe Dragoon. That's how it's translated here from the Japanese, but she was a 3-drop 2/2 Bane, and if you're an Overflow, gain Storm. Or might have been the opposite way. It might have been she has Storm innately and she gains Bane in Overflow, but really interesting card there. So, classic ramp. Then we get sort of the, not modern, but whenever I think of Ramp Dragon, this is immediately the deck that comes to mind. The Altar Sphere Ramp Dragon. We have so much stuff to break down here. So, we had the Galmu package. That's the 5-drop there. She was a card that wanted your own people to get hit. So she had an effect where when she got hit, or when she took damage on your turn, she dealt damage to things. And then you also have this insane draw package of the Servant and the Disciple of Disdain. That's the 1 and 2 drop. And the Disciple, the 1 drop, he comes down, he deals 1 to one of your own things, and you draw a card. And then Servant of Disdain, whenever he took damage, you drew a card. So that was a 2-card combo that drew you 2 cards. Really strong. Feline, of course, is just a very good basic card. We see also the Disdainful Rending, the 1-drop removal card that was, at the time, nuts, because it was 1 play point, deal 1 damage to one of your own things, and then deal 3 damage to something else. 3 was a big like step up from 2. Servant, so of course if you have Servant down, you draw a card off that too. So lots of early game cycle and card draw. And then, of course, where would we be in Dragon history without talking about Masamune, the 2-drop legendary there? He absurd card. I don't know why they printed this card. He was a 2-drop 2/2 with Bane. And then if you're at 10 play points, he gives everything on your field rush and can't take damage on this turn. So you comboed him with Poseidon down there, 8-drop. Poseidon was a 5/7 that summoned 2/1/3 wards. So you can go Poseidon, Masamune, clear their board because you have a Bane and everything else is rushing. And then now you have a really strong board with 2 wards behind it. And then what else do we have to talk about here? Roy, the Dragon Slayer. He was that example of the 3-drop backup ramp like we've been talking about. He was a 3-drop 2/2, and then he gave you a 2-drop card that ramped. And then, of course, the Prince of Cocytus at the bottom there. He changed your deck to the Apocalypse deck. And yeah, this is just the deck when I think about. When I think about Ramp Dragon, this is just the deck. And yeah. So, why should you play DragonCraft? Well, DragonCraft. That was weird. Well, you should play it if you like Ramp, if you like playing big bodies and bombs, and you like a variety of late game. I think Dragon is really interesting because it offers you the chance to not just hard lock into one style of end game. Like, you can just go, hey, since I'm ramping so much, I can put a variety of these late game strategies in my deck at various numbers and be fine because I just need to get to one of them, and then I can craft play the rest of the game around either what I have in my hand or what my plan is for this matchup like that. I really like the flexibility of DragonCraft, and yeah, so we'll have to see. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped you, and let me know if you guys decide to play DragonCraft. I think I have a kind of hot take that so far from the cards that have been revealed, I think it's a little on the weaker side compared to the other classes that we've seen in Worlds Beyond, but that can always change with either more ramp or some insane late game that's like a Poseidon Masamune equivalent, stuff like that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And make sure you stay tuned for the Abyss video. That's going to be a long one because I am going to basically do this style for both Blood and Shadow, and then I'll kind of do a little talk about where I think the class will go since it's combined now. But yeah, stay tuned for that, and then, we're a couple days away from release, so very excited. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.